Good morning. Where are we? I didn't move my bookmark. Rejected in his own country, sending out the 12. Is that as far we got? We got through verse 13, I think. So that means we're in Mark chapter 6, verse 14. I'll say now and then I'll maybe say again later. I'm thinking about shifting times. We'll see. Summertime, we've just been doing more ministries where we're staying up later. And so I've been sleeping in, which is, odd for me. Not like, probably still early for most people, but I am going to bed later. So I've been sleeping in proportionately later. And so, yeah, like every morning I just feel like 7:30 is hitting and I'm not like done. Like I need more time. And yeah, so who knows? I thought about trying for 8 o'clock, but we'll see. Maybe just do it at 6 o'clock. Because sometimes it's like the Daily Bread happens at the tail end of my studying and reading and devotions and whatnot. And so sometimes it's like, oh, I had another half hour in me, but once the Daily Bread's done, I'm done. It's kind of like where I'm at. Like it kind of like kills the momentum. My big thing's focus. I think that's something that I try to encourage all believers with when it comes to devotions, is finding out what works for you. I'm a huge advocate of early morning devotions. And I make my scriptural argument for it. I've done that many times. But you got to find out what works for you. Lately, even, I've been finding that so many things have been keeping me up late that on the nights where I actually can go to bed at what I would call my normal bedtime or desired bedtime, I can't fall asleep because I'm getting into this pattern. So I've actually started trying to study at night because oftentimes my problem is I want to, if I could just read books all day, I probably would, but I start falling asleep and I can't focus. And for me, it's like by 8 in the morning, my brain no longer can focus without just getting sleepy again. But then what I found is I'll take a nap. Like if I read and fall asleep, if it's the middle of the day, it's like I'm not like needing a full-blown nap, but I'll fall asleep and wake up 10 minutes later and I'll be able to read again. And so sometimes I just embrace that. It's like, well, whatever. If I fall asleep, and then I'll just wake up and keep reading. But anyway, find out what works for you. That's the important thing, is that you get as much quality time seeking the Lord and hearing from the Lord as possible. And so, there are people who are night owls, but most people are less of a night owl than they would argue. If you actually stay up past 8 p.m. and use that time productively, like actually working, and actually seeking the Lord, because again, if you're a night owl, that's your excuse for not being able to get up early and be with the Lord. So it's like, well, okay then. Are you going to seek the Lord at night? Most people I know, it's usually streaming videos, after 8 p.m. But all that said, we should talk about beheading John the Baptist while we're at it. But yeah, so if I move it to 8 o'clock, we shall see. Jaylee feels called out. Yeah, she always feels called out when I talk about things like responsibility and stuff. So, okay, now let's move on. Verse 14 of Mark 6 says, Now King Herod heard of him, for his name had become well known, and he said, John the Baptist is risen from the dead, and therefore these powers are at work in him. Others said it is Elijah, and others said it is the prophet or one of the prophets. But when Herod heard, he said, This is John whom I beheaded, and he's been raised from the dead. For Herod himself had sent and laid hold of John, bound him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, for he had married her, because John had said to Herod, It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife. Therefore Herodias held him against him and wanted to kill him, but she could not, for Herod feared John, knowing that he was a just and holy man, and he protected him. And when he had heard him, he did many things and heard him gladly. And then an opportune day came, when Herod on his birthday gave a feast for his nobles, the high officers and the chief men of Galilee, when Herodias' daughter, Salome by name, came in and danced and pleased Herod and those who sat with him. And the king said to the girl, "Ask me whatever you want, and I will give it to you." He also swore to her, "Whatever you ask me, I will give you, up to half my kingdom." So she went out and said to her mother, "What shall I ask?" And she said, "The head of John the Baptist." Immediately she came in with haste to the king and asked, "I want you to give me at once the head of John the Baptist on a platter." And the king was exceedingly sorry. Yet, because of the oaths and because of those who sat with him, he did not want to refuse her. Immediately the king sent an executioner and commanded his head to be brought. And he went and beheaded him in prison, brought his head on a platter, and gave it to the girl, and the girl gave it to her mother. And when his disciples heard of it, they came and took away his corpse and laid it in a tomb. So, there we go, guys. There's the story of John and Herodias. Now, here's the thing, right? I just want to jump right into one of the big things. Herod listened to Jesus, or to John, about Jesus, right? Herod gladly received him. And you guys might gladly receive Christian stories, the Bible, and all. I mean, oh yeah, this is all good stuff. But at the end of the day, Herod's influence, right? He was influenced by his friends. It says because of those who sat around him. And there was this woman. And ultimately, he made the wrong choices. And it would seem, if history would play out the way it seems, that he ultimately made the wrong choice too. It's amazing how many people, even for a lengthy season of their life, will follow the Lord. They will do the Christian thing. They'll follow the Lord gladly. But eventually, maybe when those good influences in their life are gone, and now they have new influences in their life, they kind of let it go. It's the idea of people who are so close to the kingdom of heaven. And I think of Jesus, the rich young ruler. Jesus loved him, it says. And it's just the idea of you were so close. You were right there. And just these people who come so close to the kingdom of heaven, so close to really giving their life to the Lord. And it's a tough thing, because what do we do? What do we do when we have a friend who used to be plugged in, used to be all sorts of gung-ho, used to be part of the crew, and now they're not? What do you do with that? Well, it's tough, because you see, last night at church we were talking about assurance of salvation. And basically, I can be assured of my salvation, I believe. But I can't be assured of your salvation. I mean, to some extent, sure I can, a little. But ultimately, when we see people walk away, stop going to church, stop doing all that stuff they used to do, it's like, man, that's rough. Because I really thought you were one of us. But now, if I look at your life, it's like, well, I don't know. It's tough. What do I do with that? And so what I tell people is that I just like to know that I have assurance. I know where I'm at with the Lord. And so I should never be deceived by the devil to think that I'm anything other than a child of God. But on the flip side, when it comes to everyone else, all I want to see from you guys is you guys walking with the Lord. I kind of just jumped over all the practical explanation of this text to get right to that point, and so forgive me for that. When King Herod the Great died, he divided the territory up into 4 sections. Archelaus got 2 of the sections down in the south, Perea, and in the Judah, Jerusalem area. And you've got the Galilee region that was given to the other Herod. And then you have the other section where, like, Caesarea Philippi and all that was given to Philip, Caesarea Philippi, named after Philip. And so Herod here steals his wife. John's calling him out. right? That's not lawful. You know, you should not be married to that woman. And he calls her out on it. And so her daughter from the previous marriage, Salome. How do we know it's Salome? It's not in the Bible, right? Well, these were famous people. They're written of a lot outside of the Bible. So these are common people. Everyone, and these stories are well recorded. Herod's stealing, and remember, the Bible is history, right? So Herod stealing his Herodias, who is also like his half-sister, I think. I had that all written down somewhere. I've reviewed it a few times. I don't have it fresh in my head, but I mean, the Herod family was pretty messed up. So it's like his half-sister, he takes her, and then, of course, it's the daughter, Salome, and she probably would have been like 14, 15, right around there, you know, and so uses her to seductively dance in front of all these guys, and then Herod opens his big mouth. But again, it's that big part right there where the king was exceedingly sorry. And maybe you or someone you know is exceedingly sorry because they know they're making the wrong choices right now. Yet because of the oaths, maybe you've made some commitments that are keeping you stuck in your bad choices. And because of those who sat with him, maybe because you're surrounded by people who are dragging you the wrong direction. Herod made the wrong choice. You can still make the right choice, okay? You can still decide, you know what, I need to get back to church. I need to get back to the way things used to be, because it's the best thing for me and it's the best thing for my family. It's going to be the best thing for my family tree from this way forward, is I need to get back to what I know is true, to what I know is good, to what I know is solid. So that's my encouragement for you guys, is if you've wandered, if you've made bad choices, if you're not where you once were, make the right choice. Get back where you belong. You'll never regret it. Don't let the voices of other people in your life lure you away. If the enemy can't steal a Christian from the fold, literally taking away his salvation, well, he'll still take him away from the fold, from the growth, from the protection, from the love, from the support, from all of that. Satan will find you some good friends. Don't worry, he will, if he wants to try and keep you out of God's will and where you know you ought to be. So there you guys go. All right, so tomorrow morning, 7:30, maybe 8, I'll try and post something on my page. So if 7:30 rolls around, you don't see from me, maybe go and click and look at my profile and see why I'm running half an hour late, but might be better for me. We'll see. I just want to be able to be faithful to this, but also faithful to my other commitments as well. You know, breakfast with my family is another one of those faithful commitments. So I need to try and make all these things happen. All right, you guys take care. I love you guys. Tuesday, my house. All right, let your friends know we're having a 4th of July thing. Everyone's welcome to come and hang out for 2 o'clock on for the rest of the day. Bouncy houses and more. God bless you guys. Take care.